Halo, saya Peter Hammond, kuasa usaha ad interim Kedubes Amerika Serikat.
Dan saya Dusedi Hammond.
Di awal bulan Ramadan ini, saya menyampaikan salam hangat kepada seluruh sahabat Indonesia yang menjalankan ibadah puasa. Ramadan adalah bulan yang menjunjung nilai keimanan, keluarga, dan kebersamaan. Nilai-nilai yang memperkuat kedua bangsa kita.
May Ramadan bring blessings of peace and prosperity to you and your families.
Selamat menunaikan ibadah puasa.
Hello, good evening everyone. Hi. How are you guys doing tonight? Good, yay! So welcome to Ad America. We are the U.S. Embassy's American Center. It's your go-to place to learn more about American culture through our programs. My name is Dila and I'll be your e-guide for today's special event. And today, you're joining a program with a title, Ad America Academy, Creating Strategic Argument in Writing, Partnership with IFIS. Can we give a big round of applause? In today's second session of Ad America Academy, we will learn how to develop clear and credible academic arguments in academic writing by supporting our ideas with evidence and logical reasoning. And before we start, I have a trivia questions for people who are joining us via online. And the question is, which statement best describes an effective argumentative essay? Is it A, it avoids opposing viewpoints? Is it B, it relies only on strong opinions? Or C, it presents a clear claim supported by evidence and reasoning? Or D, it focuses mainly on storytelling? If you know the answer, please submit it to our social media. And if you get it right, you will get a live shout out from us by the end of this session. All right, everybody, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. She's an English lecturer at Sampurna University. So please give a warm welcome to Miss Maria.
So thank you, Dila, for welcoming me, especially for the second session. Yeah, let me go to the first. Yeah, this is actually the second session in which I continue the previous session from Pak Eka, and Pak Eka already provided very best explanation on the basic foundation in academic writing. And I believe that all audiences already learned much from the previous session, and they will be ready for the second session, which is strategic arguments in academic writing. In this part, we are going to learn how, just Dila has said before, logical reasoning will play important role, especially in developing our claim and also our analysis. But before we go to the next slide or even to the next point that I would like to explain, maybe it's time for me to greet audiences, yeah, to give a very earlier reflection, yeah, whether they are confident. So how confident are you to argue your ideas in academic writing? So you can join this question to answer by typing slido.com. And this is actually the password 333600187, or you can also scan the barcode. Yeah, we are going to have a first reflection, how confident, yeah, especially if we want to argue our ideas in academic writing, either it is in an argumentative writing or even in any type of essay or any writing. Okay, I'll give few minutes or few seconds. Yeah, anyone already joined Slido? Okay, already got the rate. Okay. So how many people? Okay, we have 14 and 16 is getting stronger. Yeah, 17, okay, 20. Okay, so I'm gonna move to the second slide on this question, yeah, to start our discussion on this topic. Okay. We have 3 rates, yeah, which is in the medium level, yeah. A few maybe in the first rate, second rate, fourth rate, or fifth rate. Okay. Any one of you want to share? Okay. How confident? What makes you confident if you choose rate number 3, 4, or 5? Anyone? Celine? Do you want to share, Celine? How confident are you? Probably. 4? Yeah. What makes you confident? Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's really nice for me to like read lots of sources and articles, and also at the same time have to be careful to like making sure if it's relevant or not, and if it's valid or not, especially. So
Okay, thank you. So I like the key points when we try to read several references, try to take the key points and make sure it is relevant to each other. This is actually the point where we want to make sure how valid or how logical is our argument. And this is actually a takeaway that I took from the previous session when Sir Eka or Pak Eka already told us that in academic essay we need to make sure that there is a connection between my idea or your ideas and their ideas. Yeah, I believe some of you already remember that your ideas related about the opinion, the claim, or even the thesis statement, and that their ideas might be taken from other people's opinion, expert statement, and also other references, and how there is synthesis between all those ideas that may support our claim. And then this is actually the one that I would like to review. If we have these 2 options, yeah, the first one and the second one, which one is representing our own idea, original idea? Okay, is it the first idea representing my idea, or is it the second one that is representing my idea? Yeah, if you still remember the previous session note, yeah, as the foundation or as the lesson learned, the transition to today's material. Okay, I can see. So this is actually a small quiz from the previous session. Yeah. Okay, so let's see, which one is my idea? Yeah, so all of you got the correct answer. So if you see the first one, this is actually our idea, our claim, or our, we can call that in academic writing or in any essay as thesis statement. The second one is actually their idea. When we see something about citation, for instance, the link embedded in the story credit shares, and younger generation is more likely to stick to a cash-only policy, allow readers to provide statistics that confirm the article accuracy. And we can see Sapin 2013. This is the example of their ideas. The previous one is the my idea, and how my idea is supported by their ideas, which is creating a logical argument. But the question, coming to the second point, which is actually the heart of our discussion today, who are they? Who are their ideas? Can we take any random ideas, yeah, without any selection, without any filters, yeah, or without any careful reading? Because when we want to take their ideas, we need to make sure that it should be relevant to our point of discussion. It should be valid enough. It should be trusted enough. Yeah, because if we take the wrong reference, yeah, wrong ideas from others, it will determine the quality of our claim, the quality of our interpretation or our analysis. So when we talk about their ideas, we need to make sure whether it is from scholarly resources or it is from popular resources. Yeah, in today's era when digital resources or digital information is very massive to be distributed, either it is online or printed version, we need to make sure whether all the references are valid enough, which is written either by professionals, academicians, or is it written by the staff, generalist, or anyone, yeah, who may already have their own platform like blog or WordPress. If those references or if their ideas are written or taken from professional ones, so we can call their ideas as scholarly. Yeah, and you can find it maybe in several resources from journal articles or even from academic books. But if their ideas are written by journalists, it means there is no expertise or no any professionality or even from staff writers or any generalist, just like writers on Wikipedia, without having any evaluation, so that could be popular. Yeah, so we need to be very careful whether their ideas are written by scholars or even by non-scholars. So that's why we need to make sure who are they. Are they trusted enough? Yeah, for helping us to support our argument, or they are not really good enough to support our argument. And this is actually the one that we are going to focus more on today's session by differentiating the scholarly and popular resources first and how those scholarly resources can be taken to be our evidence or our support. And maybe I would like to share some information when it comes to scholarly resources. Maybe we need to consider about the source, about the type of the publication, about who are the authors, or what is the purpose of that information. Yeah, mostly if we talk about scholarly resources, it will come from the word scholars. We know scholars, usually they are related with research, published in a journal articles. Sometimes they make books for academic ones. Sometimes you can also find several theses or dissertation in a bachelor degree or in a graduate degree. So all those information, by the type of the publication, we can say that those are scholarly resources written by scholars or written by academicians, yeah, with the proven experts, with credential and the basis of the expertise itself. And sometimes, if we want to see how these resources are published in the online media, we need to see the purpose, whether it is for evaluating the knowledge, whether it is for criticizing the theories, or whether it is for presenting documented discoveries. So this is actually the boundaries or the nature of scholarly resources that we need to pay attention every time you want to find support or evidence in our academic writing or in our analysis. Make sure we know the publication, the authors, and also the purpose, yeah? And then if we talk about the quality, yeah, this is also something that we need to consider. when we talk about quality, we need to make sure that all language or all dictions or words, they are written in a technical tone. Yeah, mostly you will find words in a formal way, and mostly you will find a lot of information cited properly. So if that information has no citation, has no reference in that text or in the article that you want to use as a support of your argument, it will not be recommended, yeah, because it will make our argument very weak. And then we have to make sure as well that the references that we are going to use to support our argument is already reviewed by the expert. When we talk about reviewed, it's not only checking the grammar or checking the structure, but also checking about the accuracy of that content itself. Whether there are several theories to compare, whether the finding is tried to be confirmed by the previous theories to see the similarities or the differences with the previous findings. Sometimes we also need to see the time of the publication. Imagine if we want to write a topic in this year, which is 2026, but our references were published 10 years before, or even 20 years before, that will not be a good support as well. So the time of the publication should be a consideration as well if you want to take any references or any information to support our argument. Okay. And how about if it is popular references? So it will be a different nature. So if our references are taken from magazines, newspapers, or blogs, well, sometimes we can use it as a brainstorming, but we cannot use it as references when we want to write the essay, when we want to write the article. Maybe we can have those resources as the primary one if we want to analyze the language in a magazine, the language in the newspaper, or in the blogs, but not as the references to support our analysis on a certain topic. And again, if the authors of that information, from their ideas written by the columnists, bloggers, journalists, so of course they are not credible enough, for having good references in our academic writing. And this is actually the one that I always ask my student when we talk about the purpose. I always ask my student in the class, try to check the information online. If you see any advertisement, if you see any promotion, so that information, of course, is not for knowledge. It's not for information that we need for critical evaluation. So any information that may have advertisement, any information that is actually for promotion, including the school promotion, university promotion, it is not academic resources. So be careful on differentiating which one is academic references, which one is popular references, because popular references, they are not strong enough to support our argument. Because from the evaluation process, it is only evaluated by editors. The word editors itself, it is only for editing. Editing the structure, editing the grammar, but not responsible for checking the accuracy of that information. And then if that information that we want to take as the support of our arguments may contain informal or slang language, of course, is not for education. It is only for entertainment, something that we may read only for escape from the difficult situation, probably, yeah, but not for academic setting or even academic purpose. The question is, can we still use popular references in our writing? Maybe yes, but only for, again, brainstorming the ideas, to see what happens in the society, to see what is the current issues that people just write suddenly on their blogs, on their newspaper. But if we want to be critical thinkers, critical writers, we need to go for the scholarly references as well, to make our ideas to be more critical, more arguable, and even to be more informative for other readers. Okay. And this is actually the one that I always tell to my students. This is actually an evaluation tool. Every time we want to see information, whether it is on the online media, printed media, we need to see the first one, CRAAP, the currency. When was the information published? This year? Last year? 2 years ago? 5 years ago? Or 10 years ago? Yeah, because the time of the publication will also be relevant whether the information is still new or already the old ones, already being updated or not being updated. We need to see the relevance as well, which is the R here, whether that information might be relevant with our ideas or it's not relevant with our ideas. If it is not relevant, of course, we can just remove. Of course, we can just throw it away. We don't need to waste our time to read the first sentence until the last sentence. Yeah. Of course, we also need to see the A1, which is the authority. Who is the author? Is it any writer? Is it a professor, a scientist, or even someone who has social media like Instagram, blog, newspaper, or even someone who has the WordPress, yeah, to share the information. We also need to see the second A, which is the accuracy, whether that information is reliable enough or not, whether that information can be taken as a credit or not. And the next one, what is the purpose? Is it for hatred? Is it for knowledge to gain? Is it for promotion? Or is it for our critical evaluation or our critical information? And when we want to see the text, it's better, or if we want to evaluate the text, it's better if we see that from all elements. On the surface, we need to see who is the author, the one that is responsible for the information or not. We need to see the currency, the time here. If it is 2026 and the information was published 2 years ago, maybe still relevant. We need to see the purpose. Is it full of advertisement? Usually, if it is newspaper, you can see many advertisements. Or whether that purpose is really for giving good information for any readers or not. Sometimes we also need to do a scanning, which is the relevance. As the overview, if we see the abstract, if we read the first paragraph, Is it relevant enough or not with the topic of our writing or not? And when we try to narrow down our reading, moving to accuracy, yeah, is it trusted enough or not? Does it have more citation, yeah, included in the information? Does it have bibliography? Does it have references or not? So that information can be a good support for our ideas, for our claim. So we can use authority, the CRAAP, currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Yeah, which is the evaluation tool for our information literacy. Okay, and then if we already learn how to differentiate the references, which one is the scholarly one, which one is the popular one. If it is scholarly references, is it old enough or is it already updated or not? So how to incorporate that in the scholarly resource, in our writing, especially to strengthen our arguments. So this is the one that we need to make sure. If we want to ensure our argument quality, we need to have a small research. There might be 3 stages. The first one, pre-research. And then we have second stage, that is research. And the last one is post-research. Maybe if I can try to pause a little bit, anyone maybe can share their ideas why we need research to strengthen our argument? Why it is important to read many references or much information before we write our argument? Anyone want to share their ideas? Why we need to read references? Why we need to differentiate the resources? Okay, Megan. Okay, why is it important?
It's important to research because the best thesis or the best topic relies on what came before it. And one idea put out there isn't just strong on its own. It needs to have a body of work behind it.
Okay, thank you. I agree with that because when we want to when we want to write an essay, a paper, or even a book, we need to conduct research so ideas can come up. At the same time, we can be more objective. We try to compare one information to another information. We can compare one text to another text to see how several ideas might be conflicted and how several ideas might inspire us to go to the next writing. So what do we do in the first stage, which is the pre-research? Yeah, of course, we need to create a skill of organization. We need to understand the assignment, or if it is not assignment, we need to understand the purpose. What is the purpose of our writing? Yeah, is it for the academic one, or is it for the non-academic one? If it is for the academic one, you need to visit the professor. You need to visit someone who might be more professional, who might have more knowledge. Yeah, so we can have second opinion. We can have another insight. Yeah, to have a pre-discussion about our ideas, to exchange our ideas, to get more perceptions for our writing. And the last one, this is usually that people might skip, try to create a folder. If you want to start writing, try to create a folder that can help you to develop your portfolio. So when you have a portfolio of your writing, you can track your history the first time you write, the second time of your writing, the third time of your stories or your articles. So it can help you for building a portfolio by having this folder. Every time we want to write a new writing or even a new essay as a part of our portfolio. And of course, we need to break down our ideas to be more specific, just to make sure that we have the limitation, we have the boundaries about the purpose, and also the topic that we are going to explore later on. So these research questions will guide us so we can have better focus, we can have better delivery, especially when we start our draft writing or the writing process from the first draft until the final one. So what could be the research question? Yeah, for example, again, continuing the previous session, if we want to talk about our perception or our ideas on specific, in this case, specific movies or specific stories that we would like to review. In this case, I try to take the example from two stories. The first one from Shakespeare, The Taming of the Shrew. And this is a movie, the classic one, 10 Things I Hate About You. And let's say, okay, I just want to analyze something that is familiar for me, yeah, as the first starting of my writing, something that I'm already familiar, but I want to explore. So we try to have a narrow topic. Yeah, for example, I want to see or I want to provide several commentaries on father and daughter relationship. Yeah, by this comparison on the stories that I already read and the stories that I already watched. And I would like to be more objective by citing the research to support my perspective. Sometimes in our writing, we can be very subjective. We can be very personal. But if we want to face the readers, we need to be objective at the same time. So our perspective can provide another argument to compare or even to contrast to our opinion. This is the function or this is the purpose why sometimes we need to see or we need to listen to what other people have written about the commentaries of this topic that we are going to review. And then from these prompt or from these topic descriptions, sometimes we may need to narrow down our writing. Try to narrow down our writing by providing the question that we would like to explore. Whether we want to focus, for example, only in the similarities or only in the differences. Yeah? Or whether we want to see which one is more, which one is less. And probably we need to be more objective as well. How other people may have different opinion, different perception, or similar perception from the issue that we are going to explore in our writing. So with this question to narrow down, it can help us to be more focused, to be more structured. Maybe some of you have the experience for being a free writer or structured writer, but with this question, it will give you at least more guideline, more context that you want to explore specifically. And then of course, the next one, we need to make sure we have the keywords. Sometimes these keywords may be important to make our research to be more manageable. And how the keywords may be not too specific, that may limit our research, or how that keyword, or it should be not too general as well. So let's see the example. If the keywords could be better, if I have these keywords. So we have the first part, the second part, and the last part. So which one do you think is the best keywords that is not too general, that is not very specific, that will limit us to find other resources, but the one that is fit enough for us to find enough references, to find enough resources that may support our understanding. Okay, so I think this will be the quiz about the keywords. So I'm gonna wait for some seconds because we have 5 people to join on this quiz. So I'm gonna share which one is the best one. Okay. And we are going to learn later how the keywords of our writing will be very useful when we want to explore the supporting documents. Okay, so we already have almost, 18, 19 or 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna try to move to the next one. So the best keywords, we can see, okay. The middle one, which is the representation of patriarchy and fatherhood, in Taming of the Shrew and 10 Things About You. Anyone want to share maybe on this side why the first one is the best keywords that will help us to focus on our topic? Maybe from this side, not only from that side, from this side. Anyone want to share why the upper one or the first one is the best keyword? Okay, anyone want to share your opinion? Okay, I'm gonna go to the next one. Any one of you? If there is no that one? Okay, so if you see, maybe from the first one, there is the word patriarchy and fatherhood, something that is not too general, but not too specific. But if we see the second one, there is Italian father, 16th century, 90s overprotective father with a medical career. It will give more difficulties if we want to find resources. So this is the one that we need to be careful. When we want to have the focus of the essay, sometimes we need to make sure what will be the key points or the important words on the specific phrases that we would like to explore. And this is also related to the second research. How do I find the scholarly resources relevant to the keywords of my topic? So, okay, maybe I would go to this one. So when we try to have important keywords, it will be very important later when we want to find other resources. If we try to have the which one? The second one, 16th century Italian father, 19th overprotective father with a medical career. It might be difficult for us later to find the resources, to find the supporting evidence for our analysis. But if the keywords are fit enough, not too general, not too specific, at least it will help us to find the resources that can be available on any database. Yeah, so this is the important way, which is the second stage of the research. Why keywords are quite important every time we want to have the research. If we have our thesis statement, especially in the introduction, so in the introduction, usually we have the thesis statement. In the body paragraph, you have the topic sentence. We need to make sure there is keyword, important keywords in that thesis statement or in that topic sentence that will help us to find the references that we might need later in our research paper or in our academic essay even. And if we can find these keywords, basically, it will give us few difficulties if we want to go to the university library website or even in any website, just like Google Scholar, GStore, Science Direct, or PubMed, or any scholarly database resources to find the topic based on the important keywords. So this is actually the second point, how the keywords in our ideas can help us to find better references from other ideas that can be the support of our essay or that can be the support of our research paper even. Okay. And when we do, or when we already find the references for our logical argument, sometimes we need to filter again. We need to read the document in the scanning way, whether the summary, the table of content, or the introduction is already relevant with our topic or not. This is actually the research process in SQ3R. The first one is survey the scholarly resources from the summary, from the table of content, from the introduction, and even from the conclusion. And sometimes we also need to question the scholarly resources using the CRAAP test, the currency, the relevance, the authority, the accuracy, and the purpose, and try to read the detailed information by giving the annotation. Sometimes if you think that, oh, I cannot read the references using tablets, laptop, I want to print that because I like to have colors while reading any information. So just do that and try to provide that annotation. And again, try to recite the information. Try to reread the information. See, say it, hear it, and write it. Whether this information is really the one that we need for our argument or not. And sometimes we need to review as well and select in which part of the information that we may need later in our argumentation writing. And usually I always provide this to my student. Every time you want to find any resources, have a small note by having this question about the author. What is the title? What kind of publication is it? Again, referring to the scholarly or popular resources. What are the major points? So if we see number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, this is actually the one that we try to test the accuracy of that information. What are the major points? What is the major evidence presented? Whether we have opinion on the author's ideas or evidence. Because sometimes we need to activate our agency as a reader. Sometimes we can have disagreement. We may have agreement with the text that we are reading, whether in our perspective, the text might be convincing enough or not. Or will I, and after we have this kind of question checklist, do I use this article in my essay to show or to prove something? Or do I have even question about this article? So this is actually how, if we want to not only summarize the references, but also to question the text, question the information in the text before we really put that information in our writing before we really incorporate their ideas to my ideas. So have a very careful selection for any text that we are going to use later to support our argument. Okay. And then when we want to incorporate our essay, especially if our essay is about argumentative, when we want to have pro and cons, we need to make sure whether we agree or disagree with their finding, with their opinion, or even with their conclusion after several investigation, and whether we can have our firm opinion and how we can try to defend our position from the citation of the evidence from the text that we are going to use. So this is actually the post-research method. After we do the research activity and we try to put that in our writing, we need to have a stance whether we agree or disagree with the information that we are going to use. And then if we agree, then we can use that as our support. And this is actually the example if we want to put that, especially in our writing. We may have our own idea like the previous one. Yeah, I think the second quiz that I already provided. And we can have these phrases, the way we try to insert that in our essay. That is, John discusses blah, blah, blah in innovative, insightful way that few other scholars have, instead of blah, 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 she, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe we can also have another way, like another phrases such as few readers will likely argue with Smith theory that blah, blah, blah. So if we think that we agree or we are convinced enough with the information presented in the text, yes, we can put that in our argument, not as a claim, but as the evidence, as a support of our argument. But sometimes, if we want to be objective enough, we may also present other ideas, their ideas that we would like to incorporate, especially if we talk about argumentative essay. We try to have comparison between one theorist to another. We try to have comparison between one information to another, especially if we think that the previous information might not feel logical enough. So we can also have critical evaluation based on the critical reading that we would like to respond. In this case, we can use this phrase, the argument Smith present fails logically because probably the evidence is not covering the whole population. Or the second one, Martin attempts to argue that this theory might be relevant enough. However, this finding, for example, has been widely discussed by other theorists and the previous one. And something that is being neglected by Martin to examine is one aspect related to what is that. So sometimes we can also have a critical evaluation to the information, although that information is still a part of scholarly references. Okay. And this is actually the example if we want to incorporate other ideas into our ideas, yeah, by providing an agreement. For example, there is other ideas from Sharon Hamilton about the Shakespeare, that the image of father, the social status or the status of the father is more important to maintain instead of the father and daughter relationship. and we can see there is a response for this theory. Few readers would likely argue with Hamilton that Baptista is selfish, for example, like this, and values his reputation more than he values his daughter. So with this writing, sometimes we can also provide an analysis on how this evidence may give a good understanding or the same perception or the same values that we can share between the text that we are using. And then, how about if we want to provide the evaluation that maybe the text might not be having the same ideas with us, but we would like to have the comparison or we would like to give critical evaluation. So we can say that in this example, Mr. Langis claims that virtue is key guiding force in Petruccio wing and socializing of Kate. And then there is a critical evaluation of this information. However, this argument fails logically because Petruccio actions define the basic meaning of the word virtue. So in this way, we can also try to have critical evaluation on the information that we are going to use as the comparison of our ideas to their ideas. If we have disagreement or if we have agreement. Okay, and I think, this is actually the one that I would like to share. If we have these 3 stages, the first stage, the second stage, and the third stage, which is using pre-research, organizing our ideas, the research activity when we want to evaluate the information and when we want to incorporate that information in our writing, it's time for us maybe to have a reflection whether we always use those 3 stages of research or maybe do you have any other steps? Do you follow these steps when incorporating evidence to our logical arguments, or maybe you have a different steps? Anyone want to share? Oh, we have one presenters from Rai. Okay, anyone might give some sharing. Do you follow these 3 stages when you try to incorporate your argument with their ideas, or maybe do you have other stages? Okay, we have 3 stages, 3 stages. Another? Okay, I think some of you might have the same stages. Okay, so we have Faresa, we have Riphat, we also have Amirul, 3 stages. Similar one, if you want to incorporate other ideas to your ideas. 3 stages. Oh, we have Ilona. We have Fafa and Amirul. So do we have Amirul here on this stage? Fafa? Do we have Haryanti on this floor? Okay. Oh, I think most of you already have those 3 stages. Okay. Yeah, 3 stages. Okay, many of you provide 3 stages. Okay, I think I would like to invite maybe 1 or 2 people to come to the stage and try to share whether you have the same stages when you try to incorporate other ideas to your ideas. Anyone want to come to the stage with me to have a small sharing and have a small spotlight? wanna come and share your writing journey together with me? Oh, okay. How about this side? Anyone wanna come? Coming front? Okay. Maybe Ibu Putih? Okay. How about this one? This people from this side? Wanna share why do you prefer 3 stages? I think most of us have 3 stages. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think it's quite interesting when we have 3 stages. Yeah, because 3 stages actually, these are the most frequent ways when we start our writing, which is starting from the pre-writing and the drafting one until the final one. Okay. So nobody wants to join with me on the stage? No? Okay. Oh, Megan? Okay, please come. 1 or 2? Okay. Okay, so we would like to share about their experience. So do you have 3 stages as well?
We'd like to think so.
Yeah, okay. So tell me your experience. Whether do you also use the folder organization, having discussion with your instructor or with your advisor, or whether you also do careful reading or not?
I think the 3 stages of research definitely fits my process, because that first stage of like pre-research, it really helps me to sort things by keywords. So it really helps with that process of compiling of the research in the middle part, because you can start with small bits of information that become a big pile or resource of information later for the writing stage, which is really important. And that post-research, then you get kind of, for me, it's like a visual map. You start with these keywords that become this investment of knowledge, and then you can see how that really plans into your writing. So that's definitely how I do the 3 stages.
So keywords actually
Yeah,
play
keywords
important.
are really important. They start my brain thinking.
Okay. How about you?
I think especially when it comes to research, it's very important that we have a lot of preparation before we get into the actual writing stage. And then I think in post-research as well, where we look at it, look at the big picture as well of our research overall, and then we get into the small details in post-research. We're like, oh, maybe we can fix this part of the research. And I think that's a very crucial part of research, because we really want our research to have so much meaning, even if we look at it from the big picture, or even if we look at it from the smallest details. So the 3 stages of research really helps us develop our research really even to the smallest details, I think. So it's very important. I think the folder thing is really important as well, because research is so complicated and everything can get all over the place. And it's really frustrating, especially if you're doing a very important research. So you want to make sure that all of your data is in the right place, which is, I'm still not good at that, but it's good practice to hear that this is what researchers should really prioritize more as well. So.
Okay, so pre-research is actually determining the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Have a night. Okay, so, there is Amir also post-research rules. So, we don't have Amirul here, I think so. Okay, but do we have question about Amirul? Yeah. So there's also interesting way. So research summary template, it is actually very crucial as well. Yeah, because we need to make sure whether their idea is really valid enough, or even Amir also said post research. Yeah, in which we need to make sure how that incorporation might help us to be more critical or not. Okay, and maybe the last one that we need to make sure is try to think about technicalities as well. Sometimes when people too focus on the content, too focus on the ideas, or any writer, sometimes they might forget about the citation rules, whether you have to use APA, MLA, or Chicago. Mostly we can find most universities will follow APA or MLA, but if we want to publish our research into journal article, or if we want to publish our ideas into books, sometimes we need to make sure to the editors whether they might have several formats of the technicalities or even until citations. And then sometimes we also need to have peer review in our post writing. As I said before, that in order to be more objective, sometimes we need to listen to the second opinion, just to make sure that our ideas are readable enough or even feasible enough for any readers or any writers to see the measurement of our writing quality to be more objective. And usually we will try to have another or the last part of evaluation, which is peer review. Yeah, this peer review, sometimes it can be done if you have writing communities, or if you have someone that you consult to, or if probably we want to make sure our own writing, we may use this checklist related with the thesis statement. Are the ideas developed logically and thoroughly? Or does the author use ethos, which is the reasoning and the pathos effectively about the ownership of the information? Whether our essay may acknowledge a different point of view. Sometimes when we want to write an essay or in research paper, we only focus on our side. We do not consider others who might have different point of view. In this case, sometimes it's also good, or it is also better if we can balance our content of writing to present two different point of view, from our own perspective and from others' perspective who might have different angle. So we can balance the opinions. At the same time, we also provide a gray area for other readers or other writers to provide a response, whether they want to disagree or agree with our angle, and whether our writing already provides adequate explanation, and whether the sources are integrated. If we have proper citation, does it consistently used by having or by following APA or MLA, or whether the organization of the writing is effective, whether we have transition to follow from one paragraph to another, or whether we can still have any grammatical errors. So these checklists might be beneficial if we want to have a review, yeah, from other readers or other writers, yeah, especially on these 9 areas. Of course, we may also add other areas depending, again, the purpose of our writing, or even we may use this checklist as our self-review when we do proofreading process. Oh. And then this is actually the last remarks that I tried to conclude when I try to provide this workshop, that creating strategic arguments might need critical reading, which is to filter and to select information provided, again, both online or printed resources, to be incorporated our writing. Because if we want to write an argument, we also need to have the time to read other arguments. This is what Stephen King states in his novels. If you don't have time to read, maybe you don't have the time to write. which is simple as that. So reading and writing, they are supporting and complementing each other. And I think that's all from me for the workshop today. So let's see. Okay, I think there's no question from the online audiences. Do we have any questions, probably? Okay, from the audiences on this spot? Before we close the session? Yeah, I think no question. Yeah, I guess no question. I think there's no question, Miss Dila. Hopefully it is clear enough.
Yeah, can we give a big round of applause for Miss Maria? Yes, thank you so much, Miss Maria, for this insightful session today. You can go back to your seat. Thank you. And yes, to conclude today's session, we have learned that effective academic writing requires clear ideas supported by credible evidence and logical reasoning. And we hope that you guys can apply these strategies in your own writing later on. And earlier, I asked a trivia question. The question was, which statement best describes an effective argumentative essay? The answer is C. It presents a clear claim supported by evidence and reasoning. And a shout out to Laila Munawarah from Zoom for getting it right. And to stay updated on our upcoming program, don't forget to follow our social media on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube channel on AT America. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for coming and learning with At America tonight. My name is Dila, and see you at the next At America event. Bye-bye!